Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for May 23rd. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. We have a phenomenal show lined up for you today. If you're watching on Twitch, please hit that follow button. Those watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It helps old Uncle Rico out. We have Gino giving bets from Canterbury Park, and this week's special guest is Josh from the Sharpz betting app. Speaking of Sharpz, that is the sponsor of the show. Imagine a betting app that will help take your betting experience to a whole new level. That is Sharpz. It is the ultimate transparent sports betting community. With Sharpz, you're going to have a chance to connect to fellow sports bettors. You're going to be able to witness when they put in bets live. Look at their bet history, look at their full results on display. You'll be able to tail the Sharpz or fade the public. If you're not using Sharpz, you are insanely messing out. Use promo code ETOF499. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you. Now, without further ado, let's see what Gino has cooking for us over at Canterbury Park today.
It's time for another best bet for this week. Let's talk about Canterbury Park, and let's talk about Saturday. One thing I've always learned from Eric, try to find the best value that you can. Try to find the best pricing that you can. You don't want to play bad lines, bad numbers, places that are too much, where it's too much juice. And at Canterbury, what they've done is they've really listened to the fans and the bettors over the last few years. They've been one of the tracks that lowered their takeout. And if you see like their pick fives, they have 10% takeout in the pick fives, 10% takeout in the pick fours. So let's play some Canterbury races anytime we get the chance. And let's talk about race number 8. We're looking at the daily racing form, past performances, drf.com for the PPs. That's the place you need to go if you need to make a wager. Bets.drf.com. Past performances are here. So you get the research, and then you can just go wager on anything you need right here at DRF. I'm going to go all the way to the outside with the number 12 in here, Roses by Liam. Now, this guy comes out of races at Tampa where he was facing open company. The race he's running in on Saturday is a race that is restricted to Minnesota breds. Horses that were bred in Minnesota. So the pool is much smaller. Compare that to the races that he's been exiting at Tampa, where he's facing horses from all over the place, and actually at pretty strong levels. He's an open maiden special weight winner. He's a horse who actually stepped up and faced the first level allowance group, and he just got caught behind a wire-to-wire winner that day. I actually think because of his outside draw, they're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive with him to try to keep him in the race and not get him hooked as wide. So I'd love to see him, sit in mid-pack or so. And it seems like there's a good amount of speed in here to set up a little bit of a rally for the 12. Look at the 10. He's really quick early on, right next door to the 9 Happy Hour Bobby, who's very fast. So those horses should be pushing each other early. I'd imagine Scatamaran wants to be close up early on. I'd also imagine a horse like Sir Sterling, Sam Says, and Silver Dash. They all want to be close up. They all want to be forwardly placed. I think the number 12 sits a nice trip from the outside. That's Roses by Liam. Good luck this week in all your plays. Good luck to Eric in all of his plays, and we'll be back again with another one next week for you. Let's give Canterbury a little bit of love with the good work they've done lowering the takeout for us customers. Let's see if we can nail a winner in the 8th on Saturday.
Please give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me, Gino B. I am on his podcast every single week, talking NFL, talking NBA, you name it. I am there. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome this week's special guest from the Sharpz betting app, Mr. Josh, a.k.a. Chalky Billups. Josh, how you doing today, my man?
Great, Eric. Thanks for having me again. Pleasure to be back on.
Always a pleasure having you, man. For those just watching for the first time who didn't see the last time you came on, why don't you tell everyone what Sharpz is?
Yeah, so Sharpz is a social network for sports bettors. Started because I felt like legacy social media, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Discord channels, name it, weren't providing enough tools for the growing legal online sports betting community. And there was obviously a lack of transparency on these platforms as well. Just felt like there had to be something better. So Sharpz connects to all the major sports books, as well as DFS platforms like Prize Picks and Underdog. So you can not only track your bets, but share your bets in creative ways, throw out your betting content, see who's actually doing well, tail bets, engage with a great betting community. So it's growing. We get great feedback on the app, and I'm proud of what we built. We always sought to create a useful tool for bettors, and that's what we've done. We keep adding improvements, new features. We listen to our users, and check us out. Download the app if you haven't already. Android version coming out in August, so stay tuned. Coming soon. I know the Android users are hungry for the Sharpz.
That's funny because that was my next question. When is the Android update coming out? Because that's what everyone asks me. Let's Make Some Money asks, Josh, how did you get into sports betting?
That's a good question. I've always been a betting nerd or a sports nerd and fascinated by the business of sports, and betting always came with it. I never understood why it was so taboo and why it was reserved for these offshore entities and these, bookies and, unsavory characters. So I got into it from a young age. I was one of those kids that was flipping, heads or tails for money, for my lunch money in high school. And, I was always into sports. So it always just came with the territory, and had bookies. And then when it finally went legal, I was like, okay, now we're talking. Now the U.S. is finally getting on board. I've always felt strongly that, it should be legal, tax, put it to good use, fix the roads, put it into schools. People are doing it anyway. Let the government run it. Not the government, but you know what I mean. Let the government tax it. Don't let these offshore entities and the mafia and other like shady organizations run sports betting. Never made sense to me. Multi-billion-dollar industry. Just, the U.S. didn't want any part of it. Never made sense. Thought it was a capitalist country. Anyway, that's how I get into it.
Is that a Tony Five Dimes reference? I'm assuming because you said shady. Tony,
No. I'm not. My business is only involved with legal online sports betting, domestic outlets. Nothing against people, the offshores personally. But for me, I want to see, the U.S. market continue to grow legally, and that the tax money gets put to good use, right? Like I think that it can, you could take this gambling thing and put it towards positive, things in the community, and just like pot or anything else, people are doing it anyway. In my opinion, no reason for it to not be legal and not be taxed. That's all I'm saying. If it's offshore, the tax money probably not coming to, help out your school.
Hey, you know what? I always liked Tony. Tony would give me some shit sometimes, but I don't know. I liked Tony until he cut me off, but he was always a trip. Those who don't know, Tony ran Five Dimes and he took no shit. Like this, like right now what everyone does, like, oh, the player X got hurt, refund the bets. I could only play in my head calling down to Five Dimes or doing the live chat and him just swearing you out with the stupidity of saying that. And A86, are the Nuggets a lock to win it? I don't really see how they can lose right now. Granted, I'm sitting on a 20-1, but they're looking pretty solid. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers don't lie. Jokic is the best player in the world. I think they're, clicking on a different level than the Heat. I don't. The Heat. Look, I'm very impressed with what they've done. Spoelstra is a great coach. They have shooting, they have grit, they have defense. I mean, but no one on the floor is going to come close to Jokic. The Nuggets look like they're going to win their first NBA title.
Smart is a no-show. See, this is why I love my boy Bobby. Like yesterday, I said, dude, bet LeBron over 24.5, bet LeBron over 30, bet LeBron over 35. Murray ain't going over his number, and take Lakers first half. He doesn't say one word to me. But son of a gun, I give out smarts over points, rebounds, and assists, and he's here chiming in, dude. My boy Leo chimes in. Green 18, baby, 16-0 run. I'm assuming the Celtics have taken the lead. Will Tyler Hero coming back help the Heat?
Me personally, I think, look, it's a little bit of a Ewing theory at this point with Tyler Hero. They've been, excelling without him. You look at Duncan Robinson getting more minutes. You look at Strus getting more minutes. They've kind of filled that role in terms of, let me be that guy that steps up, shoots more. Oh, Caleb Martin too. I mean, look, there have been guys that have gotten opportunities for the Heat that have really, stepped up and, contributed to this run they've been having. And I don't know if they would have been in that position and been able to shine like they are with Hero. So, look, I don't know if it helps, to be honest. This late in the game, it could throw off their chemistry at this point.
See, I talked to someone who, I can't say who he is, but his comment was Hero not playing is helping them because the ball is moving more and they're better defensively. That's basically the nutshell of his answer. And I kind of see it.
That's how I see it too.
Next one. What happens to LeBron? Play, retire? I think he waits until Bronny gets drafted so he can play against him or 1 year with him. Not a guarantee, though.
Yeah, I can't see LeBron retiring. He's said in the past he wants to play with Bronny. Is Bronny a one-and-done type talent? I personally don't think so. But, if he comes out after a year, some team is going to draft him for that carrot that, potentially lures LeBron, because even at 40 plus, I think LeBron's going to be a big draw. Physically, he hasn't really slowed down that much. I don't think he's going to be the best player on your team and you're going to win a championship anymore. But, having LeBron on your team isn't going to hurt you, even at this juncture of his career. I can't see him retiring. He's always about his legacy. I think playing with his son, he's talked about wanting to do it. I think he's going to accomplish that. It's going to be a Ken Griffey Jr. type moment. And I think it'll happen in some way, shape, or form.
My thought on this is this. I have two things. You said it. Williams of Bronny isn't a one and done. Or Williams, he goes to USC and really likes the college life. This is LeBron's dream, not Bronny's. So you know what I mean? Like Williams, if he goes to USC, really likes it and wants to play 1-2 years. And then the other thing is LeBron, everything is really well calculated out with him. Is this a move where he is like, hey, I'm going to put the pressure on the Lakers to get Kyrie, who is out there, to, you know what I mean? Is this kind of like a pressure type move by him seeing it, or was he just sore and just speaking wholeheartedly? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Who will have a better final, Butler or Jokic, assuming Heat make it? I say Jokic. What do you say?
Yeah, Jokic. Jokic is the best player in the game right now. There's no one doing what he does. You can double team him. He'll beat you with his passing. You can not double team him, and he'll just get buckets on you all day. He's incredible. Like there's just watch him play. People don't appreciate Jokic because he plays in Denver. He's on the West Coast. I guess people aren't paying attention, but this has been going on for years. The guy's been incredible since essentially since he's come into the league. Nothing against Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler, but it's Jokic's league right now. Pretty much everyone else is just living in it. Probably, I'm not going to say he should have been the MVP again, but probably should have been.
I might be sweating the Oakland A's money line for about 600 in a round robin. Currently up 2-0 in the bottom of the second. Good luck with that, my friend. Good luck with that. Interesting one here. Could Jamal Murray be a sneaky MVP bet?
Yeah. I mean, look, he's capable of getting you, 30 points in a half any given night. I just think Jokic gets triple doubles in his sleep, and most likely, if the Nuggets win the title, it's going to go to Jokic. I mean, Murray would have to go absolutely nuclear for him to steal the MVP from Jokic. I can't see anyone besides Jokic getting it if Denver wins, but maybe some value there. I don't know. There's something happened. I don't know. If you think the Nuggets are a lock, then maybe worth a sprinkle.
Now, can the Celtics really pull off a 4 run and still win the series? Asking as a Celtics fan, I say no. I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, I think eventually this is going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be the Celtics team. It's
become like the 16-1 or the 16 seed, scenario. And inevitably, someone's going to do it. This Celtics team, I don't think they're built for it. They could have lost to Philly last series. I don't know. Missoula is too busy watching The Town 5 times a night or whatever he's doing. I don't see it. If they steal one tonight, things make it interesting. But beating a team four games in a row, it's tough.
Now, we had great stuff in the comment section. Thanks, guys. We're going to shift our attention over now to our takeaways. Josh, what is your first takeaway from the betting weekend?
All right. So I was in the hospital all weekend. I'm fine, but, had some stuff to deal with. So I was watching a lot of, sports and just, trying to dial in while I was just sitting there, spending a lot of time waiting. But one thing that stood out to me was Man City. Man City, I was watching their B team beat Chelsea in the Premier League. They've already clinched the Prem. They're going for the treble, which means they're going to win 3 major trophies this season if they can win the FA Cup, which is coming up. They play Man United, and then the Champions League, which is the ultimate prize in soccer, and that's coming up soon. They're heavy favorites in both those competitions. So if they win the Prem in those two, that's called the treble. They're just so dominant right now. I'm just very impressed with them and what they've done this season. I think they are the most dominant professional team in sports right now. I don't think there's anyone even close. You look at, the major sports in the US, there's not really any dynasty type team going. There's no one that's that dominant. We're about to get potentially an 8 seed against the Nuggets in the NBA. In baseball, it's pretty wide open. NHL, we have a recent expansion team in VGK that looks like they're going to be in the Stanley Cup against Florida potentially. It's just the Chiefs are the closest thing we have, and that's, in my opinion, heavy on the Mahomes factor. So I think Man City is a good argument for being the top professional team, the most talented and dominant team in the world right now in any sport.
I like it. And this is someone who knows nothing about soccer, so I'll take your word. Like soccer, like people give me crap for knowing a lot about football and basketball. Soccer, I know nothing. So I will take your word about Man City. One of my good friends is a huge Arsenal fan, though. My first takeaway is horse racing. The Preakness was his last weekend. Major changes need to come. They had Bruno Mars there. Bruno Mars is one of the biggest musical acts right now, and they had him perform afterwards in the infield, and attendance was down significantly. Ratings were down significantly. They need to do something that's going to draw people in there, namely the younger crowd, or we're just going to see this sport die, which I love betting horses. I love going to the horse track. Unfortunately, out by me, Arlington was taken away because Churchill Downs elected to sell the land to the Chicago Bears so they could build their new stadium there, even though there was a group that wanted to build it and continue horse racing in the Chicagoland area. It needs a commissioner. There needs to be a lot of changes coming, or in 20 years from now, this is going to be absolutely nothing in America. And it's sad to see because it's a great sport, but they need to do something to get the younger fans involved in the game. Did you watch the Preakness? Are you a big horse guy?
I love the horses, but I agree with you. It's going to die. One of the biggest things, from this Triple Crown so far has been the horse deaths have overshadowed pretty much everything, right? So they have to do something about protecting the horses because, look, people, not just the younger generation, everyone is against that. If you can't protect the horses, then what are we even doing here? The Derby, had 7 horse deaths? It's pathetic. You can't have that or the sport's 100% going to die. And then on top of that, look, you had last year, I thought it was atrocious that, the Derby winner didn't run in the Preakness. So I was just happy, that we had the Derby winner actually running in the Preakness this year. So I thought that should have helped the draw a little bit, because anytime you have a Triple Crown chase, I think that makes things a little more interesting. But no, I'm a huge horse guy. I want to see the sport thrive. I think there's opportunity there. One of my suggestions would be, look, it's too difficult to bet. Separating the race books and the sports books is not good for the casual and the younger, bettor who's coming up who may have never bet horses before, right? So what I found interesting was how FanDuel now has its own race book. They make it very easy to navigate between their sports book as well as the race book. So free advertisement for them. I was impressed with what they did this year with their race book, whereas the other apps haven't really caught on. You can't bet horses on them, or they try and, direct you to a third-party app, that they're affiliated with. So I think that also is a problem, because if people can bet on it and bet on it in an easier fashion without having to go to a track or something, it'll invite more eyeballs as well. So, that's just my 2 cents on it.
We got some interesting comments in the chat room. Last week's guest, Chase, aka the Wolf of Oaklawn, who great horse player, knows his stuff. Oh, sorry, he was the guest 2 weeks ago. My fault. And he does a horse racing podcast called The Notorious OTB. He says, I think they should start offering horse racing / sports cross props in legal states. They need sweep drug testing and better breeding programs. Even if National Treasure is clean as a whistle, that he's already dirty in the world's mind. Total overwhelming loss for horse racing fans. And Chase hit the nail on the head. They need to have some cross props, maybe do like be able to like parlay different stuff. Drug testing needs to improve. And he's right. National Treasure, people are going to view that horse, even if he is clean, that he is a dirty horse. Josh, takeaway number 2, my friend.
All right. So my second takeaway, more international flavor for you. Not soccer related, but I just thought it was interesting, the news about PointsBet potentially selling to Fanatics for 150 mil. It looks like they were valued at about 400 mil a couple of years ago when NBC, I think it was, invested in them. And I just think it's wild to me that they're kind of already bowing out of the U.S. market. It's a big book in Australia. They were seasoned, they had the experience, and they came in and they just couldn't compete with DraftKings, FanDuel, or some of these other books, and they're already making an exit. I can't see it any other way for them as an abject failure to come in. And I've heard mixed reviews about the book itself. I've used it infrequently, but it's just, it blows my mind that it sold for so little. But I'm also excited to see what Fanatics does, because I think Michael Rubin's an innovative guy, and now that they have this market access, it'll be interesting to see how they want to compete with DraftKings, FanDuel, and what their angle is there. I think, that was my, one of the more interesting things I saw this weekend as well. And just on top of that, another state, Minnesota, failed to pass legal sports betting, something we've already touched on. I'm very pro legal sports betting. I can't believe some of these states that get bills on the table and can't get it legalized. I think they're doing their constituents a disservice, their states a disservice. Sports betting is something that people are doing anyway. And guess what? If you don't legalize it, that money's just going to leave the state. It's going to go offshore, or it's going to go to, shady characters. So I can't believe there are states that can't get it together. They're leaving money on the table that could be going to good things. And it just blows my mind. So those are my takeaways, the business side of the industry.
I do love me a good offshore dude, man. I'm sorry, bro.
I don't mean to pile on and the offshores this whole time. I am biased. Sharpz is only onshore, but I don't mean to. You do Eric.
I'm not the biggest PointsBet guy either, man. I that's all I'm gonna say about that. My second takeaway is LeBron isn't retiring. He is doing this to flex his muscle to the Lakers front office, can make moves to get another title, add another player. I'm not sure if the Lakers will try to sign Irving, who was in attendance of the game last night, or trade for Chris Paul or another player. But the last time James did this sort of thing, they added Russell Westbrook, who was a bad fit. The Lakers do have some pieces. They can make some moves to make this a championship roster. But I just think LeBron is doing this to force the Lakers' hand, and then see where Bronny goes. I mean, but the thing with Bronny is, and you said it, we really don't know what he is. Is he going to like the college life? We really don't know. I don't think LeBron is going to leave. He had 40, 10, and 9 last night. Dude had 40, 10, and 9 last night. He can still play the game. I will say this, so I think we're going to see a decrease in the amount he is playing, though, which is sad to see, because he is a phenomenal dude on the court. Great to see. Now we're into some betting. Let's jump right into it. Josh, what is your first bet, my friend?
All right. You got the right hat on for this one. My Jared Goff donation bet. He's plus 4,000 to win the MVP. All right, full disclosure, like you, I am a sad, pathetic Lions fan. But if you believe in the Lions this year, you think they're the best team in the NFC North and that they're going to host a home playoff game, potentially win one, then look, plus 4,000 on Jared Goff to win the MVP. I think it's deep value. He was fifth in passing touchdowns with 29 last year. He only threw like 7 picks. He threw a ton of attempts. I think he's top 10 in attempts. Look, the numbers were there. If the Lions are actually winning and making the playoffs, he could be in that mix potentially as we go on through the season. So, look, I think the Lions will be pounding the ball. They invested heavily in, the running back position, obviously, and they have a good old line. But I do think another year under Ben Johnson, look, Goff could go off again. I am not a Goff guy. I personally believe he regresses a little bit. But there is that, that world where Goff lights it up again and, is in the MVP mix, which is crazy to say. But, I think
I would love that. I would love for that to happen. I don't know if that is going to happen, but I would absolutely love it. My first bet, staying in the North, but I'm going the Minnesota Vikings under 8.5 wins. You can get this at plus 125. This team was the luckiest team in the NFL last year, and it was not close. They finished with a minus 4-point differential, and the Pythagorean win total was 8.32. They won 13 games and were 11-1 in one-score games, with Kirk Cousins performing insanely well. They also, I'm not high on their defense. I know they added Davenport, but I don't think he's going to be able to band-aid the issues that this team has. The offensive line isn't built for a combo blocking scheme. They're more of a zone blocking scheme, and Cook could be traded. He could be released. Can they rely on Madison to be the RB1 and carry that backfield? Plus, Kirk Cousins did look good in the clutch, but we all know that's not what we've seen before. He's going to come back to the norm. This team has a lot of holes on defense, a lot of holes on offense. I am betting them to come back down to earth, and I bet the under 8.5, and I got that at plus 125. Next bet, my friend.
All right. Got a good one for you. There's a lot of uncertainty surrounding this third pick overall that the Blazers hold in the NBA draft. A ways away, but Scoot Henderson right now plus 140 to go third overall, regardless of who picks there. I think Scoot is clearly in that second tier with Miller as the guys after Wemby who are the top 2 prospects. So ultimately, I think Charlotte is going to go with Miller because look at their roster. Right now as it stands, they're very guard heavy. I think a small forward fits much better with them, and than another combo guard to play with Ball. So anyway, I think third, whoever gets it, whether it's if Portland stands pat or if they trade away, I think it's going to be Scoot Henderson. I think he's clearly the top prospect that's going to be available on the board. Plus 140, decent value there. I was just looking at that NBA draft futures today, and it caught my eye.
I love Scoot Henderson. It's going to be interesting to see just because I'm not a ball guy. I'm not going to lie. I am not a LaMelo Ball guy, and I'd probably go with Scoot. But I think you're right. I think they probably draft Brandon Miller because he is a better fit. And then what happens? You know what I mean? Like the Blazers, obviously Scoot's going to go 3. Do they take Scoot and then trade Lillard? Do they move back and get a team that wants to trade up for Scoot? Because the one thing about Scoot, and my buddy made this comment, is he's going to work out insanely well, even though he had a down year in the G League. Leo chimes in. Sharpz is where it's at. Love the content. And then also I was asked if I went to the combine this year. I did peek my head in the NBA combine, and no, I cannot share any stories. My next bet is I am going here to Chicago, and this one pains me. Dude, this one utterly pains me to say it. I'm taking the Bears over 7.5 wins. Offense is going to take a step forward. We saw what happens when these young quarterbacks add a wide receiver. One, they take a big step forward. Hurts, when he got A.J. Brown, step forward. Allen, when he got Stephon Diggs, step forward. Now Fields is getting DJ Moore. I expect him to take a step forward. Offensive line will be better. Defense is going to be better. I like the draft they did. I think that the Vikings are going to take a step backwards. Look, we have no clue what's going on in Green Bay. Green Bay could be world beaters, or they could just be god awful. And this is my one thing with our Lions. We don't know. Are they going to be able to be the team that's being chased? You know what I mean? Like, are they going to be able to be front runners in that division? Another thing is, I looked at it. This schedule is insanely good. They got a great schedule. They have the most rest. So the most, like, when you add up their off days that the Buffalo Bills had last year and the Detroit Lions team had in 2011, both those teams won at least 10 games. So the schedule gods did them off good. So I took Bears over 7.5 wins. I hate it. I hate the Bears, but I had to do it, my man. Hate it.
It's not a bad bet. I mean, if you think Fields is going to take a step up, then yeah, I mean, why not? The division, I like your bet on Minnesota with the under. I think they could definitely, regress a little this year. I think Green Bay is going to absolutely stink. Look, they don't have like a terrible roster, but I just think Love is going to be a horror show. So look, they're in a good spot, to be honest. And if Fields can actually throw the ball a little bit, then they could be dangerous. So I don't think it's a bad bet at all. And I'm not a Bears fan by any means. So I think, I think it's a good play. My last bet just touches on my point from earlier. Man City is the best soccer team in the world. It's just as simple as that. To win the treble, which is, the last two parlay the last two legs of the treble is the bet. So to win the FA Cup, I think they're minus 200 on the money line, and then minus 250 to win the Champions League. You parlay those together. That's in regulation, by the way. Parlay those together. It's at plus 110. You're getting plus money on the best football team, the beautiful game in the world, to win the treble. I don't see any scenario in which they don't actually win the treble this year. They're so much better than anyone else. They clear everyone, especially Manchester United and Inter Milan, who they'll be playing in these competitions. Don't even overthink it. It's free. I don't want to say it's free money, but it's as close to as free as money gets. Maybe throw in a Haaland anytime goal scorer on top of it just to make it a little juicier in both games. But that's a bet I absolutely love.
I like it. I will tail you on that, my friend. My last bet. Sometimes I find these teams, I just see it. Last year I gave up Philly way back when, and I'm doing the same thing right now, but it's a team at 35-1. I'm giving out the Cleveland Browns. They had a lot of injuries, and they're due for some positive injury regression. They added Zadarius Smith to the defensive line. That is huge. Now, because you have Myles Garrett on the other side, teams double Garrett, they're going to put their focus on Garrett. That's going to allow Smith to get to the quarterback and make him uncomfortable. They brought in Walker from the Colts a couple years ago. Great middle linebacker, can cover sideline to sideline to help when they played Lamar Jackson, but he kept on getting hurt. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be solid in the middle of the field. They're going to have a top 5 offensive line. That's just a given. Top 5. Even if people get hurt, they're going to have a top 5 offensive line. No Kareem Hunt is going to open up more chances for my boy Nick Chubb. In my eyes, Nick Chubb is the best running back in the NFL, and it's not close with what he's able to do. And now you're not going to have the competition there for Kareem Hunt. I absolutely love Nick Chubb getting more touches. And now let's just look at their wide receiver core. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Dante V. Peoples-Jones. Oh, yeah. And they drafted Cedric Tillman, who was on top of most people's wide receiver draft boards until he got hurt at his last season at Tennessee. Watson got better and better and better as the season went on when he came back from suspension. If he takes that other step forward and gets close to the form that we saw before the suspension, I think the Browns are going to be insanely underrated. And people need to remember the one thing Watson did really well was the RPO action. So if they're able to get the RPO action, and it's going to open up more running lanes for Nick Chubb, and they're able to do play action pass off of this, he's going to be in line for a good season. And I just kind of feel like with Aaron Rodgers going up with it there, the Dolphins getting all the love in the AFC, you got the Bills, you got the Bengals, you got all the teams there. I just feel this Browns team with what they have is insanely overlooked right now. And I'm seeing 35-1. I absolutely have to lock in the Cleveland Browns, which I never thought I'd say, at 35-1 to win it all. It's kind of crazy, my man. Kind of crazy.
There's method to your madness, but I honestly think Goodell would jump in there and intervene if the Browns were even close to getting to the Super Bowl, which I don't think they will. Just coming in the AFC is so tough. But, Deshaun Watson is just so toxic. I don't know. We'll see. That's a bold one. But Watson, I think he might be cooked. He looked terrible last year. You could say he improved a little bit. He finished with a 56% completion percentage at the end of the season. Yeah. He did not look like he had it. That defense looked like a total mess. Zadarius Smith may solve some of those problems. But, even with Garrett, they looked horrible last year on defense. So great running back for sure. And I do like them as a sneaky play. They, if Watson returns to form at all, they could be very good. So, it's definitely an interesting play. Plus 3,500. I think probably some value there. The AFC is tough. That's probably why it's at that number. If they were in the NFC, I bet it would be a lot shorter. So,
if they're in the NFC, I mean, it would probably be Philly, San Fran, and then them probably.
You like the Browns as a team, roster construction. You think they're more talented than the Lions? Better team?
That's tough, man.
Because what are the Lions at? You get the Lions at what?
Offensive line is about a wash. Defense, I'd probably go with. Oh man. Defense, I'd probably go with Cleveland.
Yeah.
Defense, I'd probably go with. Boo, we want stories. I could not share any stories from the NBA Combine. That's top secret information. Secondary, I'll probably give to the Browns. Special teams, wash. Linebacker core, Browns. Defensive line, Browns. Offensive line, wash. Wide receiver core, Browns. Running back, Brown. You know what I mean? I don't.
Maybe. Look, Chubb has a lot of miles on him. I think Montgomery and Gibbs. Obviously, it remains to be seen what Gibbs is, but he's going to have an interesting opportunity to fill that Swift role and maybe perform better than Swift did, or at least be healthy. I think it'll be interesting to see. How it goes, with those two teams and how they pan out. Obviously, I think the Browns have a tougher division. They have a tougher conference, but, and that's the reason why the Lions are plus 2,500 to win the Super Bowl. I think they have fourth or fifth best odds to win the NFC and come out of the NFC. So I think that's a good debate, though. If the Browns were in the NFC, would they be a top 5, contender in the NFC? And, I don't know if that speaks to the Browns being good or how trash the NFC is, but no.
I'm letting everyone know, and I'm letting you know, all the NFL stuff I do, I'm going to be strictly an Atlanta Falcons thing. I've given out so many Falcons futures already. I have them to make the playoffs, win the South. I put a little bit on them to win the Super Bowl at 75-1. Wow. Falcons are going to be sneaky good, man. Don't sleep on the Falcons. And yes, Bobby, I am a Debbie Downer Lions fan just because I have been through it all before when I get my hopes up and I just have my heart ripped out by my Detroit Lions. Josh, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find the Sharpz app and everything, my friend?
Download Sharpz in the App Store, coming soon to Google Play. Check us out, and we'll will be on Android soon. I know the Android users are chomping at the bit. I promise you it's coming. We're working on it as we speak. We have some other great features coming out before football season. So check us out, and you won't be disappointed.
Thanks for coming on, my friend. We'll talk soon. Thanks for everyone tuning in.
Yep.
We'll be back next week.